Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today it's our all-English lecture, and today's subject is about a circus. Have you ever been to a circus before,
Yeah, I have.
Stephanie?
I was younger. I think I was maybe 9 or 10, but the circus came to town. That's what we used to say. The circus is coming to town because they're a touring show. They don't stay in one place usually, although in New York they have their home base, at least this particular circus. And, you know, they would go touring around the country, and when they came into town, kids, of course, were very excited. You could see big animals and these crazy tricks that you don't see very often.
Indeed. And, well, I think it was about maybe even 10 years ago that the Moscow Circus came here to Taiwan, Taipei, gave a performance in the old Zhongshan Soccer Stadium before they converted it for use for the Flora Expo a couple years ago.
I know.
This was quite some time ago. I took my daughter there. It was quite a spectacular performance. So there are different troops, I guess you could say, giving performances. But one of the most famous circuses in the world is the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Hey, they're actually closing up shop. The curtain falls on the greatest show on earth. What a tragedy. But there are reasons they're closing down, as we're going to find out. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson right now, and we'll be right back. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus is closing down this May after 146 years in business. The circus, billed as the greatest show on earth, cited multiple factors for the decision, including falling ticket sales, changing consumer attitudes, and the effects of long, wearying battles with animal rights activists. Kenneth Feld, the current CEO of parent company Feld Entertainment, spoke of the difficulty of competing against movies, video games, and the internet for entertainment. The circus's final curtain call will be in Uniondale, New York, U.S. on May 21st. The Ringling Brothers began entertaining people with juggling, horse tricks, and other performing animals in 1882. They later merged with other circuses, which had been run by showman P.T. Barnum and ringmaster James Bailey since 1871. The result was a spectacle featuring elephants, clowns, high-wire acrobatics, and more. The circus traveled all over the U.S. by train, bringing its acts to cities and towns across the country. However, its use of animals drew ire from animal rights organizations, which oppose the use of wild animals for performance purposes and claim that Ringling Brothers was mistreating its animals. There were protests held outside circus shows, while numerous groups also fought legal battles against Feld Entertainment. Though Feld Entertainment was actually awarded money after a long lawsuit with the Humane Society of the United States, public tastes were changing. People were becoming more concerned about animal welfare. The circus removed all elephants from the show in 2016, retiring them to a conservation center in Florida. Now that the circus is ending, the other performing animals, including lions, tigers, and camels, will be cared for in suitable locations, while Feld Entertainment will continue to run the Elephant Conservation Center. Animal rights activists have called this a victory, though fans have lamented the demise of a piece of American culture.
So the curtain is falling on the greatest show on earth. When the curtain falls, it just means it's the end of the show. When the curtain goes up or the curtain raises, the show starts. If you're in a theater, the curtain signifies whether the show is going on or whether they've finished, or maybe there's an intermission between Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, things like that. So the curtain falls just means it's the end of the show for the greatest show on earth. These words in quotation marks are the slogan for this company. It's their advertising slogan, and they came up with it a long time ago. And so when people hear the greatest show on earth, they always think of this particular company. And, you know, that's pretty good advertising as far as I'm concerned. If you can get people to remember your slogan and connect it with you, you've succeeded in your advertising.
Indeed. So that was their logo. That was their motto. So let's talk about the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. It's closing down this May after 146 years in business. Say this May. Hey, that's right now, isn't it? Yes, indeed. And the circus, billed as the greatest show on earth, cited multiple factors for the decision, including various things which we'll get to here. First of all, let's talk about this word bill. Bill as a verb. To bill something as something means that's the name that's given to it, or at least that's the nickname that it has.
Yeah, it goes by that name, you could say. They cited or they gave reasons for something. When you cite something, usually you reference something else where you got some material maybe. Here, they're citing multiple factors. Multiple means more than one. So there were several factors for the decision. First of all, they have falling ticket sales. They weren't selling enough tickets. Changing consumer attitudes, I think, is a big reason. Consumers are people who spend money and buy things. We're all consumers. And consumers these days were looking for different types of entertainment. I mean, this entertainment's been around forever. It feels like it's really old. And so sometimes the circus just didn't move fast enough for kids who were used to video games and, playing with their smartphones. So those are some of the reasons, at least two of them, that they talked about or cited for the reason for closing down their circus, which
so these are, yes, the multiple reasons, many factors, multiple factors for this decision to close down the circus. Falling ticket sales, people just aren't going to see the circus like they used to. And we've got changing consumer attitudes. Consumers, of course, are people who buy and use products and services. And also, they're closing down because of the effects of long, wearying battles with animal rights activists. Okay, wearying is something that makes you weary. It makes you tired. They're just basically tired of fighting these animal rights activists. An activist, of course, is somebody who performs various activities to bring about change in society, to promote some kinds of ideas or whatever. An activist, women's activists, for example. In this particular case, we've got animal rights activists, people who think animals should be treated in a nice way, whereas in the past, people didn't really care. If you beat an animal, who cares? They don't have a soul. They don't have conscience. But now there are people who say, no, wait a minute. There are fellow living beings on the earth. We need to treat them with respect. And I guess in circuses, they have various animals like elephants and monkeys and stuff. I guess the animal rights. Yep, there you go. Tigers too. Maybe some rabbits there and a couple of lizards and some snakes. Who knows? But I guess the animal rights activists think that the circus is not treating them nicely.
Yeah, these animal rights activists have been very successful in shutting down many things. I know there's a marine park. It's kind of like an amusement park in California that has big whales that put on shows and dolphins, and they've succeeded in getting the people at that park to quit doing these big whale shows. So they've been successful working against people that they feel are treating animals poorly. Now, Kenneth Feld is the name of the current CEO of parent company Feld Entertainment. When you're talking about a parent company, you're talking about a business that is so big, it has several different smaller businesses attached to it that aren't directly doing the same thing. They're called subsidiaries, if you want to know what they're called. But the parent company is the big one that first started everything. And sometimes they get involved with other types of business, and so they start a smaller company that's not quite as connected to the parent company's business. Well, he spoke of the difficulty of competing against today's entertainment, like movies and video games and the internet. Things just move a little faster in this modern world than they used to.
Exactly. People want to go see movies. They want to play video games on their smartphones. And, of course, they want to spend lots of time on the internet. That's how people are entertained. It's hard for people nowadays to imagine that maybe 50 or 100 years ago, people entertained themselves by reading books and going to see plays and going to see the circus, which actually, it doesn't sound too bad, actually, doesn't it?
I think it sounds good, actually.
Actually, it might be better for your eyesight to look up at things instead of down at things, everybody. You're going to really damage your necks that way, staring at those phones all day. But in any case, times have changed and attitudes have changed. So that's, I guess these are the reasons why the CEO of Feld Entertainment is saying that they can't compete against those movies, video games, and the internet. And the circus's final curtain call will be in Uniondale, New York, United States, on May 21st. So that's the last chance you have to see this circus. This is a pretty famous circus in the United States, although I don't know if other circuses are still running, like the Moscow Circus. Are they still operating?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I said earlier, they did come to Taipei or Taiwan to give a show a number of years ago, but I haven't heard from them since, so who knows? Maybe circuses are dying out.
I wanted to mention this phrase, curtain call. If you're acting or singing and you have a concert, at the end of the show, they close the curtain and all the actors come out in front of the curtain. Or sometimes they don't even close the curtain down. All the actors come to the stage and bow, and the audience claps and goes wild. So in paragraph 2, it starts out by saying the circus began entertaining people with something called juggling. I think, Tom, you juggle. You take,
a little bit.
Yeah, you take several objects and you throw them up in the air, and you're keeping one in the air at all times. You don't want any of those objects to fall on the ground. They had horse tricks. I've never seen any horse tricks. Oh, maybe with riders riding in different ways on top of the horse, standing on top. I've seen that.
Or standing on their hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've got the horse tricks, which would involve the horses. And also we've got other performing animals. And, of course, the circus began way back in 1882. Other performing animals, maybe they got monkeys doing stuff as well.
I've seen monkeys, yeah.
Or dogs maybe doing certain tricks or things like that. Or maybe they've got seals balancing balls on their noses or whatever. Although they'd have to have huge tanks of water for that.
To keep them happy, yeah.
You probably have to go to some kind of ocean park to see performing seals. But there might be animal rights activists at those ocean parks as well because they're using seals and dolphins and stuff like that. But I guess they've succeeded in closing down the Ringling Brothers Circus. But that's not the only reason. Of course, we've got changing attitudes, as we've mentioned. But again, the key of this sentence, or the main point, is that the circus began way back in 1882, and they later merged with other circuses, which had been run by showman P.T. Barnum and ringmaster James Bailey since 1871.
I remember, Tom, because they didn't merge a long time ago. It's more recent. I remember just Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Okay.
Do you remember that? I remember that.
Sort of.
And then I remember thinking, oh, why did they add the Ringling Brothers at the beginning? But yeah, some of the circuses weren't as successful, and sometimes what happens is the more successful company will gobble up or eat the smaller companies. And what we say technically is they merge together. But one of the bigger companies will buy the smaller companies, and then they all perform under one company's name. So they merged. You put two things together and merge them. And they were run by showman P.T. Barnum. The showman is what we called that man who would stand in the middle of the big tent and announce the acts. And, he had to look very nice. He usually wore a tuxedo, but he was announcing all of the special shows and tricks and things that were going on. It could either be a showman at a circus, but it could also be somebody at a fair or maybe a variety show. And then there's a ringmaster. He was the guy that actually worked with tigers and lions, right, to do the tricks. A ringmaster. You'll never see this word other than when you're talking about circuses, though. It's a person who directs a circus performance, the ringmaster.
And, of course, back then and maybe now, circuses had 3 rings, right? A 3-ring circus.
Yeah.
And they would have different events going on in each ring. So the ringmaster or the showman or the leader would say, ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to the first ring or the center ring.
That's true.
High above the stage. Somebody's going to jump off a ladder and land in a bucket of water or something like that. And so that's what was happening all the way since 1882. It's a tragedy that the circus is saying goodbye, but
I think it's sad.
What the heck? Lots of companies just don't last that long.
Yeah,
and there might still be circuses out there. Who knows? But in any case, that brings us to about the halfway point. So let's take a break right now, and we'll come back in just a second.
Welcome back, guys. We're talking about how the curtain is falling on the greatest show on earth, this famous circus that's been in business for 146 years. But, you know, modern life is changing things. It's closing down businesses. New ones are opening. And this particular type of entertainment is just a little old-fashioned, perhaps. They don't do things that are quick enough. Kids are used to being entertained with very quick-moving things. I've heard that lately it's even harder for kids to sit down and read a book because they're used to video games and things that entertain them without them having to do anything. So this is a sad news that this big circus is actually closing down. The curtain's falling on them. We finished talking about the first and second paragraphs. Oh, we're in the second paragraph right now.
We are.
Yeah, we finished talking about showman P.T. Barnum and ringmaster James Bailey. In the next sentence, it says, the result was a spectacle featuring elephants, clowns, high-wire acrobatics, and more. These are some of the types of entertainment that you might have seen if you'd been to the circus. If it's a spectacle, guys, you should first know that the word spectacle actually was a word we used long ago to describe glasses that people wear to see better. They were called spectacles, of course, because you had two lenses. But if it's a spectacle, remember that it used to be glasses, and so it's something cool to see, something really amazing that your eyes can look at. What a spectacle.
What a spectacle, indeed. You could describe maybe Chinese opera as a kind of spectacle, where you've got loud noises and music and gongs and colorful costumes and acrobatics and stuff like that. I guess in a way that's sort of like a circus, but in any case, this word spectacle also reminds me of a phrase we often use. If somebody is behaving in a strange way in public, we'll say, would you stop that? You're making a spectacle of yourself.
Right.
You could also say you're making a fool of yourself. You're attracting attention for basically the wrong reasons because you're acting like an idiot. Stop doing that, etc. But in any case here, this is good here. It was a spectacle of all these things going on. We had elephants. There were clowns, of course. You know, the strange creatures with the red noses. People dressed up like that. Some people are scared of clowns, actually.
Yeah.
We also got high wire acrobatics. That would be people walking on wires and maybe doing flips and stuff like that on the wire. The trapeze was also part of the circus where they swing back and forth and do flips in the air and stuff like that. These are some examples of different things you could expect to see at a circus.
Right. High wire is often used today to describe something that's risky because those acrobats could have died if they'd fallen. So high wire trading in the stock market. So you'll see that used as an adjective even today. Now, the circus traveled all over the U.S. by train. That's how they carried their animals around, bringing its acts to cities and towns across the country. They did do a lot of tours, I remember that. Now, in the next paragraph, it starts out saying, however, its use of animals drew ire from animal rights organizations which oppose the use of wild animals for, performance and entertainment reasons. And I can understand that. I felt like some of the animals probably would have preferred to have been at home, where they're natively from, instead of going around on trains from town to town, especially some of the bigger animals. Ire is a word that's a little bit more difficult, I would say. It's not an easy word, but it's good to know. Ire just means anger. Here you can see this. Drew is the past tense of draw. When you draw somebody's ire or you draw something's ire, it means you make them angry. So these animal rights organizations got busy and started to oppose the use of the animals. If you oppose something, you disagree with it, and you don't want something to happen, and you might even go out and protest.
Exactly. So you oppose something, you're against it. You oppose the government stopping the pensions, for example. So you go down and protest in front of the presidential palace because you oppose something the government is going to do. And these animal rights activists oppose the use of wild animals for performance purposes like elephants, tigers, lions, etc. And they also claim that Ringling Brothers was mistreating its animals. If you mistreat them, you don't treat them well. Maybe you beat them or something. You keep them in small enclosures. You don't give them enough food, stuff like that. That could be considered as mistreatment. That's the noun. To mistreat is the verb. Don't mistreat animals.
Right. So there were protests held outside circus shows. A lot of times these activists, they'll go to the place where some business is taking place to protest because they want to be seen. They want that company to see that they're there. So they would hold these protests outside the circus shows. But they obviously had a lot of success because now the circus is gone. Well, numerous groups also fought legal battles against failed entertainment. One of the ways to oppose something that you think is wrong or bad is to take them to court, especially in the U.S. So you would go to trial and you would sue them, which means you say they're doing something bad, and if they win, you have to pay them money sometimes. Sometimes you just win by, getting them out of business. So they took them to court and fought legal battles.
Yeah, but actually some of these legal battles backfired against the animal rights activists. It says here in the next sentence, though Feld Entertainment was actually awarded money after a long lawsuit with the Humane Society of the United States. So the Humane Society, of course, is an organization that promotes the ethical treatment of animals and things like that. I guess they had pestered Feld Entertainment for so long.
Them, maybe harassed,
and, They actually kind of got something in reverse here. They actually gave Feld Entertainment for some money because of Humane Society. Maybe they went too far or something.
Sometimes they do.
Maybe they went to, they destroyed their property or something like
Can't
that.
Do that.
Or went in and disrupted their performance or something like that. So,
or sometimes the Humane Society will go in and open the cages of animals and let them escape.
Could be. I've been tempted to do that when I see birds in cages.
Oh.
I think birds should be flying. But in any case here, it does say here, though they were actually awarded money in a lawsuit, public tastes were changing. Okay, so it is true that they actually received money, so maybe they were actually improving in terms of animal treatment. Still, public tastes were changing. Even though it was true that they won some money, people were just getting less and less interested in the circus. We don't want to see some stupid elephants dressed up in these outfits walking around. We'd rather be playing some kind of game on our smartphones sitting on a street corner somewhere.
That's right. But this is just life. It's business. It happens all the time. I was thinking of Blockbuster, a big company, when we were growing up, that you would go in and rent videos of movies. But nowadays you don't need to, and they've gone out of business. So if you're in business, you have to constantly be keeping track of where technology is going and people's tastes are going. Things change, and you have to be changing with it. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, and because, how do you change the idea of a circus? So they're having to close the circus down. People were becoming more concerned about animal welfare. If you're concerned about something, you care about it. In fact, you care so much, you think maybe something's not going on as it should, or something wrong is happening, and you're just anxious about it. They were concerned about animal welfare. When you talk about the welfare of animals or people, you talk about how that thing is being treated. Are they being taken care of, fed, treated well, or are they beat and, not being fed well? Those things are important.
Right, and to be on welfare means that you're receiving money from the government because you're out of a job or something like that, so you can go get food at a supermarket or something like that, to be on welfare. But, of course, you can't be on welfare forever. But in any case, people were concerned about animal welfare, and the circus removed all elephants from the show just last year in 2016, retiring them to a conservation center in Florida. Here we have the word retire. That usually means that you're just leaving public life, you're quitting your job, and you're going to start playing golf and hang out with your friends in the park and play chess and stuff like that. You are retiring. But in this particular case, they gave the elephants some place to live. They no longer have to work in the circus. Now they can live in this conservation center in sunny Florida. Conservation just means you conserve something. Usually you're protecting the natural environment.
That's right. It's kind of a good place for them, though, really, because these elephants are used to people and being taken care of. They're not used to going and getting their own food. So you would want to put them somewhere where they would still be taken care of, but had freedom to roam around. I'm sure that area is quite big. That's what I'm guessing. In the last paragraph, it starts out by saying, now that the circus is ending. The other performing animals, including lions, tigers, camels. They have camels. Wow. Will be cared for in suitable locations like that conservation area. They're going to find a place that will be good for these animals when they are retired, to be retired. I think you only retire animals. People, you can't say he was retired. He has been retired. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like passive, the passive use.
Versus active, right? Yeah. I retired. Yeah. That would be active.
He retired. She retired. Yeah. We also can retire words or phrases that we use. I know long ago we had really cool phrases that we no longer use. For example, what are some phrases from the 60s that are still just
cool,
silly?
Man.
Cool, man.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, if you retire a phrase, you just don't use it anymore.
Yeah, it's been retired. It's no longer being used. If you use it, you're going to sound really weird. And so that's what has happened to these animals. They've gone to, at least the elephants have gone to the conservation center. We don't really know where the other animals have gone. But I guess without the animals, the circus can't continue?
No.
I'm not quite sure about that because nowadays people are doing all sorts of different kinds of acrobatics and things like that. When we went to see the Moscow circus, they included a motorcycle show in which the motorcycles were actually spinning around in a big steel ball.
Oh, cool.
So maybe there's some other things that they consider doing besides.
What about Cirque du Soleil? Cirque du Soleil is the circus that has no animals. They're all people that do all these crazy tricks with their bodies.
They do come to Taiwan.
That's awesome. You should go see it.
Quite frequent. So yes, I guess you can still see a circus that way. So let's take a look at the final paragraph here. Now that the circus is ending, the other animals will be cared for in various locations, and the Conservation Center will continue to be run by Feld Entertainment in Florida. Animal rights activists have called this a victory, though fans have lamented the demise of a piece of American culture. So here, yes, animal rights activists are probably happy about the end of the circus, but other people are lamenting this piece of American culture. To lament just means that, I feel so bad that something has happened. You kind of regret it. And the demise just means the end of something.
Or a failure of a business,
Exactly. But as we said before, that's not the only reason they're closing.
Right.
They have other, things to deal with. And so hopefully there are other circuses out there, like you mentioned, Cirque du Soleil. Things change as they move into the future. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. And there's no Chinese teacher, so we'll just say goodbye. So thanks for joining us. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.